You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online, and my name's Andrew Mackay-Smith. Hope you are well. The interview subject I have coming up for you, boy oh boy, do we bring the stars on this little indie podcast adventure of mine. It is Alex Skolnick, the guitarist in Testament, and far too many other bands to mention in the introduction at the very least, because I do talk all about Alex, or do ask Alex a bunch of questions about his career and all of the wonderful musicians that he's played alongside of through this podcast episode. I'm really happy with this podcast episode, by the way. This is probably one of the best interviews that I've done with an artist who has such a broad resume as Alex certainly has. The reason for the conversation with Alex is to talk up Testament's appearance in Australia through March 2020. Now, they've definitely got a show that I'm going to, which is on Sunday the 22nd at the Triffid in Brisbane. Now, there might be other shows around Australia. Just check gig guides outside of the download appearances that the band will be doing in Sydney and Melbourne. So those two dates are Friday the 20th and Saturday the 21st at Melbourne and Sydney respectively. So as I said, really happy with this conversation. I hope you enjoy it too. Hope you enjoy all of the conversations that I share with you via this podcast series. I just was really happy with this one, it must be said, because I was looking forward to talking to Alex for a very long time. So here he is, Mr. Alex Skolnick from Testament. Alex, it's Andy Mackay-Smith calling for our chat. How are you going?
Hey, Andy. How are you?
Good. How's the conversations with the Australian indie journo types been going?
Oh, good. Yeah, we're in the midst of prepping for Australia. Great to be talking to so many folks and gauging the excitement. Seems like there's a lot of excitement for it.
There is, mate. Yeah, there is. And look, I know the reason for the chat is to talk up Testament's appearances at Download this year and the few side shows that you're doing. I'll be in the Brisbane, one of the Brisbane side shows there that you're doing. But I got to, Alex, I got to say, after almost 450 of these types of interviews, I still pinch myself to get a chance to talk to somebody such as yourself, because, mate, when I was preparing questions for our chat and I was going over your resume, it's quite unbelievable, really, all your career accomplishments and the many great musicians that you've shared the stage and the studio with. I consider you, in terms of, I know you do many other things, but a guitarist, really heavy metal guitarist without peer. And but before I dive in,
thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I've been a fan for a long time, as you can probably tell. But I guess
that's great.
Before I start talking about the rest of your career, I'll just ask you about these shows that you are playing with Testament. So, do you have a set list planned, or I know there's plenty of albums there and to draw material from. So, how the hell do you guys colour set list?
We're in the process of it right now. We just today and yesterday we rehearsed all day,
mm-hmm.
and we were trying a bunch of songs, seeing what sticks.
Yep.
We have one of the things about once you have a good number of albums under your belt, you have so much music to choose from.
Yes.
It's a good problem to have, but it can be a problem because there's so much. And I think for this next run of shows, including Australia, we decided to change things up. So we're not playing our usual songs. Yeah, we have our standard songs we've been doing for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But we're actually decided to bring out a few songs we've never played.
Okay.
Songs that we played, but not for many, many years. Like decades. and also, there's a new album coming.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah, we'll play some new songs as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on, I suppose, isn't there? But look, I sort of alluded to this earlier because I was talking to John Five about his tenure in Marilyn Manson. Look, and as ridiculous as it sounds, and these are my comments, I said to him that he's ridiculously overqualified to play in Marilyn Manson, and I kind of feel the same way with regards.
He's a great player.
He's a great player, mate. But then so are you, and you're practically overqualified to be in Testament, if you don't mind me saying, and that's no knock on Testament,
That's
by
okay.
the way. You know, I don't.
Yeah, no, that's okay at all. I hear that sometimes, but yeah, it's that's it's. I think it helps me definitely to be able to stretch out, and we're sort of at a point now. There has been for this whole later period of the band. Yeah, I've been able to do that. I've been able to stretch out and balance out other, all my other styles of music, and working with musicians outside of the metal world. It's hard for me to exist in a bubble.
Mm-hmm.
I do love playing the music, and the fans are amazing, and the community is amazing. But I think one of the things that's helped is just you're not being stuck in a bubble, and thanks to technology, being able to have a personal computer on tour with a full-fledged recording studio, with software, being able to work on any music I want during the day has helped a lot. And also, being able to send files to other musicians and or work on my educational projects, whether it's video content for TrueFire or written projects that I'm doing. So
sure.
It wasn't like that the first few years of the band. It was just this pressure cooker. Release an album, go straight on tour, do an album cycle, do the next record.
Yep.
So I think for me, I needed to get away and just develop on my own. But now it's different. Just having had that time away and being able to balance it just makes it much more doable.
Yeah, good answer, mate. Yeah, I've often wondered about that because you are what I consider to be an academic player, in that you actually understand what's going on with the various modes and scales and all of that sort of thing, and you're drawn to playing thrash and heavy metal, which is great for us as heavy metal fans because I can hear elements of your jazz playing. I can also hear elements. I think you lean into a bit of Middle Eastern style music as well. In your playing.
I'm definitely influenced by a lot of international playing, international music, and also there's a lot of the jazz and improvisational artists I listen to have an international flavor. For example, Chick Corea, has this Spanish side that comes out in a lot of his music, and Al Di Meola, that's an obvious one. He's just whether he does the music of Astor Piazzolla, he works the tango into his music, and then a lot of just world music and international music. So I think it comes out. I don't really plan it in metal, but I try to come up with ideas that interest me. And I figured, there's so many. There's no shortage of kind of blues-based, high-speed licks in heavy metal.
Yep.
So I'm not going to try to do it. And it's with all due respect, it's not. I just I don't want to. It wouldn't do me any good to try to play like anybody else.
Yeah, I actually really enjoy Planetary Coalition, and I think you're talking about a lot of the music you've done there. And look, I reckon that's
where I got to go full on international. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well beyond the boundaries that traditional people from Western countries would be used to listening to music. And I think possibly my favourite collaborators that you worked with on that are with Tama. I think it's Tama Pinabasi, who plays the Canoon. And also the bass player I think really suited your playing. Panagiotis, I think. God, I'm going to mispronounce his name.
Panagiotis.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Andrea,
great player,
bass player. I mean, that's sublime. That cut there that you recorded. With
thank you so much.
Is just magnificent, man.
Yeah, well, I've heard music in that style, and I've just thought, I could play to this. This is really nice. But most people who are familiar with my playing, whether it's from the guitar, the kind of high tech guitar community, and especially the metal community. They're probably not going to go buy an album of traditional Turkish music with kanun.
Yep.
But if I'm doing it, then it makes sense. At the same time, if I'm playing with those instruments, I don't want to dominate it with my metal sound. I just couldn't hear that. I really want it to blend in. I mean, I'm also a big fan of Ry Cooder, who
nice, yeah,
did the classic Buena Vista Social Club, and he just blends in. There's times where you're almost not sure if he's even playing. He is, but he just lets the musicians do their thing. And I didn't want to be that discreet, but I also really wanted the musicians to I wanted it to be more about the musicians.
One of my other favourite albums that you've been a part of is Attention Deficit. Okay, the work that you did
cool.
there, and because I actually got into them through Tim Alexander, because I was a massive Primus fan back in the day. And
okay, yeah,
and then of course you've got the supremely underrated Michael Manring on bass as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Are you planning? I know that's almost 20 years ago. I suppose you released your last thing with them, but is there any plans, potential on the horizon for that to be a thing again?
I would love to. I think we're all in different worlds. I think it would be amazing. But it hasn't been planned. If I run into either of those guys anytime soon, I'm going to suggest it.
Please do. Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
And look, and I think you've collaborated with so many people, it's impossible over a 20-minute phone call or so to list everything. But one of the things I was really impressed with, particularly because I'm a fan of the band, was that, and a lot of younger listeners to the podcast might not be aware of who Savatage are and the influence of Savatage.
Yeah.
But in particular, the long since departed guitarist Chris Oliver, God rest his soul. But
yeah,
mate,
absolutely, yeah.
But you are so. I hope you don't mind me blowing smoke up your ass this way, mate. You were so good. You were the guy drafted in to replace him, and I hope that's appropriate to frame it that way. But
yeah, no, it's a big honor, and I've been a big fan of the band. Yeah, in high school, I was one of many friends that they had that first album they did. It was it wasn't well distributed by.
Yeah,
they didn't have a real record label at the time, so it was very hard to get. Everybody had like a third generation cassette with that Savatage record.
Yes,
but So at that time, I couldn't have imagined being asked to play for Savatage, and it worked out. I mean, it was very sad that there was an opening, because Chris was lost, but I was. Yeah, very, very honored to do it, and I really, it was a very good thing to do musically, because at that point I pretty much only recorded, thrash stuff.
Yeah,
Testament in its formative years, which is great, but it's very limited, and this here with Sabotage, I am actually playing with some slow grooves. There's actually piano on a few tracks. So it was just a nice chance to explore some other sides of music as well.
Are you still mates with John Oliver? You still talk?
I don't see him very often, but it's always great when I do see him. The last time I saw him was a few years ago. He was playing with his band Pain.
Yes, yeah.
And they were they were actually playing right in Pennsylvania, not far from where Testament was playing.
There you go, yeah.
And we ran down there to say hello, and it was great. I went down there with Chuck from Testament, and we had a nice little reunion, and it was really cool. I would see him more often from about 2001 to 2009, I was playing at the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which is the top-grossing holiday show
That's it,
in the U.S., which interesting. It was spawned by Savatage. Well, the producer, may he rest in peace, Paul O'Neill.
Yeah.
And
definitely, yeah.
We, John would always, even though he's got writing credit for that show, and he's kind of the nucleus. He didn't get out much. It was hard to get, but he would always come to a show, at least one show on the tour.
Yeah, fair
even though
enough.
he didn't want to do that. And we would always see him. Yeah, and it was great. But yeah, I'm overdue to reconnect with him.
Look, and I think, talking about icons of music, as I do feel Johnny's, I think he's very overlooked, but there was if you don't mind me terming it, there's quite a bizarre episode in your career with Ozzy. And I've read, the backstory on it, how you effectively got the gig and then nothing happened for months, and then you were asked in the space of 24 hours to get yourself over to London. Nobody blame you for not taking the gig. It sounds just sounds like a punishing situation, that one.
Yeah. It's it was what it was. It's one of those things. I just I mean, again, that was like probably like the greatest guitar gig of all. Randy Rhoads was one of my favorite guitarists, and I do think at that point, it was a strange period. They'd sort of gone back and forth with Zakk Wylde, and Zakk. I think at that point Zakk Wylde had sort of he's just such a larger than life presence, and I think just knowing what I know about show business now, I understand it. They were used to somebody like Zakk Wylde, like a big lumberjack,
Definitely.
And I think that's what they had in mind. And I was coming at it from with all respect to Zakk, because I think he's great, but Randy was my guy. Randy was my big influence, so I really tried to bring more of that. But it was a crazy period, and from what I've heard, just the tour was kind of crazy. It was still, there was still a lot of craziness in the Osbourne camp.
It's that there is. I think they're still like that, mate. I don't think it's changed very much, actually.
Yeah, and you know what? I think it takes a certain know-how to just be able to come in and be a part of that.
Absolutely, very well said. Yeah.
I have I suppose I could say, if I may be so bold, I have the musical skills.
Of course.
But it's really more about music. Yeah, there's more than musical skills required.
Yeah, there's that management aspect of it, isn't there? Especially with such a powerful personality like Sharon, and not to mention Ozzy, of course.
Yeah.
But the whole family to me are overbearing. It's I mean, I think that's why they've had so many people, and they've had the on again, off again relationship with Zakk. And look, I've had a chat to Zakk in the past, and he's still friendly with guys like Bob Daisley, who were screwed over in the camp as well. And I think, I think it's whoever steps into that band, mate, in that environment has to know something, that at any time it can be like a very calm water, but then it can get very rough, like a tempest, very quickly. That's certainly my take on it.
I think that's a perfect description, yes.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, so, and it's a good... I had the experience, and then that was it. And it worked out well, because it definitely motivated me to work harder at sort of developing my improvisational skills and just focusing on finding what I wanted to do as a musician.
Yeah. Well, it's somebody who I think you're both born to play with each other, in my view, because I've watched enough of the videos on YouTube, and they're just sublime to watch and listen to. But bassist Stu Ham, I think I'm a bass player.
Oh, so, one of my favorites.
Yeah, but you guys lock in so well. It's like I can see you looking at each other's fretboards to work out where each other's going. Like when you're playing, there's a Led Zepp song on there that I think you're playing at NAMM a couple of years ago, or one of those festivals or conferences. So do yourself and Stu, do you just sort of meet up whenever you can, or can you tell me about what you guys have got planned together?
Oh, we just have a really natural chemistry. And I'm very grateful that, Stu recognized, even back then, in the early 90s when I first played with him, that there's, something, it's not, I'm not just a guy who can play thrash metal.
Absolutely.
So he helped bring that out of me. And then, when I had there was a period where I kept a low profile. I moved to the East Coast, studied music at the university level. I got a degree from the New School. And then got my trio together, and just really became. I felt like I filled in some gaps, and just really moved very forward with my playing. So then when Stu and I finally got together again, that was about 5 or 6 years ago. It was just a whole other level. And he's become a much deeper musician as well. So I think when we play together now, it's just great. We just played in L.A. Just last month at the famous Baked Potato in L.A., which is great jazz rock place. It's kind of the jazz rock capital of L.A.
Nice. Okay.
And it was great. And we got we're talking. We talk all the time. It's unbelievable we don't have an album together.
Agreed.
It's criminal.
I'd love you guys to do that, by the way.
Yeah. So we're talking about it. I've been. I've been holding his feet to the fire. So I think it's going to happen at some point.
Look, you can probably tell by the questions that I'm asking that I'm a bit like yourself and that I go, metal, jazz, rock, pop, whatever it might be, but I certainly have more jazz in my vinyl collection than metal. And for me, that means that the Alex Skolnick trio is a real treat because, ragtime and bebop seem to be the glue that hold the music that you guys create together. But, the Iridium live performance on YouTube is just superb for anybody out there who really wants to check out what you can do in that setting. It's actually magical, I've got to say.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah.
But watching you perform, mate, I feel as though, mate, you're one of very few people in this world achieve what they've been put here to do, meaning that, you know what I mean, like... I feel like as though you were born to be a guitarist and you're just one of the greatest guitarists of all time in my view. And you're still doing it. It's like some people are born to drive trains, or fly planes. You know what I'm saying? But
absolutely.
You found your outlet. So was it your parents early on that really encouraged you to do this?
Not at all. They're academics, and just a completely different field. Like no instruments were played by my family. I did have an older brother who played a bit of bass, but we were definitely not a musical family. Just like others, and part of the legal community. Didn't practice law, but just a very decorated law professor and sociologist. And I was kind of expected to get into social sciences or law or medicine, something like that. And I just always felt music so strongly from when I was very young. So from a very young age, I think it was just there was no question that's what I was going to do. And also just being I think I found a way to just be honest about it. It's very hard for me to pretend, and so to be in a band or to play with a maybe like a famous pop singer, right? That's on the Grammys and late night shows. But if somebody I just don't like the music at all, that would be really hard. I don't know if I'd be happy doing that. I think I would rather not have that job, but play music I like. I'm able to focus on music. We talked about the trio, and that's music that it reflects the music I listen to.
Yes.
And it's not like I never listen to it. I just don't listen to it that often. If it comes on, if I'm with friends and I'm at a metal bar, then I love it. But I don't. And maybe because I've played it so much, I don't feel the need to listen to it that often.
I feel the same way.
And I sometimes get in trouble. I sometimes get in trouble for statements like that. There's certain websites that like to take that and make it a headline and make it sound like I don't like playing metal. But that's not true at all. I actually really like playing it, but playing it and listening to it are
two different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, two very different things.
And I had a period where I listened to it all the time. Yeah, but it's what I listened to in high school. I listened to plenty of Motorhead and Slayer and
yeah, you've got metal cred.
I don't feel the need to those. And I'm on tour with these bands too. I was on tour with Slayer last year. I saw dozens of Slayer concerts. I don't feel the need to put on a Slayer album.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. By the way, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very much in the same basket. But let me ask. Actually, I'll do a time check, mate. I've been going for about 23 minutes or so. Have I got time
Okay.
for a couple more questions?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
One of the strangest things I've seen in the last 10 years or so was when I was watching Ellen and I saw Rihanna performing, and there's Nuno Betancourt, I mean, one of the greatest guitarists of all time, playing power chords alongside a bloody Rihanna's band. And I thought, holy shit, what the hell's going on here? And I understand musicians have got to earn money. I get that, so it's not a criticism of that. But I guess from your perspective, who's the strangest collaborator that's approached you and said, look, I really want to work with you? Is it like a Lady Gaga or a Lord or somebody like that reached out to you and said, Alex, I want you to help me here?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting example, right? I was just talking about that. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a perfect example, like Nuno playing with Rihanna. And nothing wrong with it, but I can't get into that music. I can't. Like, I'm sorry. I know she's got a great voice. I just can't get into it. Now, you know, if it was somebody like, say, I don't know, you know, somebody like, you know, somebody whose music
you could work with Adele, really, for example.
Adele, Adele, or even like Erykah Badu. Actually,
nice.
Like,
yeah,
you know,
it's
a little different, but I could, it's real. Exactly. There's something so natural about it. But yeah, no, the strangest, I had, between 2005 and 2010, I played for a bit with a woman named Debbie Friedman.
Okay.
No relation to Marty Friedman, but she's passed away, unfortunately. But she, at the time, she was probably the biggest artist of Judaica, and playing folk music. But she was doing like folk pop music. And I happened to know one of the musicians, and it was a time I was kind of still in my sort of low-profile period, mostly studying.
Yep.
And she had musicians in her band. Like, she had the bass player for Suzanne Vega. At one point, the bass player was Bikiti Kumelo, who's very famous for playing with Paul Simon.
Indeed, yeah.
She had a keyboardist. One keyboardist plays with the Manhattan Transfer. So it's like, you know, this great band of musicians. But a lot of it was sort of like just kind of family-friendly, Judaica-themed music. But it was just like these monster musicians. And it was actually a really good experience. I think it taught me that, you know, even playing like simple sort of pop folk songs with a band that has a really strong pocket is much better. You improve much more than playing with a situation where maybe you get to shred and play more solos, but if the musicians aren't as good.
Yeah, I know.
So I really got a lot out of it. So it was an odd fit, but it was I got a lot out of it.
Yeah, that's not that unusual, though, is it? You know, I mean, that sounds like as though, especially if it's got an academic thing like Judaica music, like what you're saying, and those wonderful artists that you just mentioned that you're playing alongside of. Yeah, mate, I just could never imagine you playing up on stage, banging out sort of 2 and 3. You know, like when Flea joined Jewel, and that's not a knock on Flea either. I want to be clear about that. But you know, there are these great musicians who, you know, when Flea did the work with Mars Volta, was like, yeah, that fits, I can see that. But beforehand, when he did the stuff with Jewel and even Alanis Morissette to an extent, I was like, huh, okay, fair enough, whatever. But yeah, I just could never see you with some of these out and out pop artists. Like, who's the one that's won all of the awards recently, the Grammy Awards, because they're all so bloody young these days.
Billie Eilish.
That's the one. I could just never see you do that, but you could easily.
I got to be honest though, her stuff, you know, she's. She's singing for real. You know, she's not auto-tuned. And some of her live television appearances have been really good and live on the radio. And her brother is a really great musician. I mean,
Agreed.
he plays keyboards, guitar. So I respect what she's doing, and she's one of the few. I know it would probably be an odd fit, but she's one of the few I would probably say yes to. There's plenty I would absolutely not work with. I won't name any names.
That's all right. I can imagine who it'd be, though, mate. Don't worry. Yeah. I mean,
okay.
Look, my last question for you is, I love reading musicians' autobiographies, and I want to be clear on this, not biographies, in other words, some other person writing it for money, but the musician themselves writing it or having it ghostwritten. Are you open to that sort of thing? Because as we've talked about, man, you've had an extraordinary career to date.
Oh, thank you. What's exactly the question? I'm sorry, cut out for a second.
Yeah, right. Would you be open to the idea of like an autobiography, something you write yourself, or have someone come in and ghostwrite for you to talk about your great career?
Oh, I've actually done one.
Oh shit, my bad. God, is that right? I haven't found it. Is that when was that released?
Yeah. It was about 5 years ago.
Bummer. Okay, I've got to find it.
I self-published that. Ironically, like I know I'm connected with many folks in the publishing industry, and I would probably go. I'm sure I would have a publisher, but I wanted to do it quick. I wanted to get it done, and I was right in between all these big projects like Planetary Coalition, and my trio record at the time, and then so but I put it out. Yeah, it's available. Yeah, it's available on. I think you can get it on Amazon.
Okay, I don't know why I haven't found it then. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, you're an artist who I obviously have an interest in, and I've read just about every hard rock and heavy metal autobiography out there, but not yours. So I'm going to definitely find it after this chat and tell you what I know.
Yeah, I never did a big PR campaign for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know.
But and it only goes up to a certain point too. It's really just about like the early. Yeah, it's about like my early years, learning to play, and the first few years of the band. But I have a lot more to tell, so I think I'm going to have to do another one.
A part two, yeah. Well, mate, you're still young, man. I mean, you'll be playing for the next 30 or 40 years. I mean, this is the thing.
I plan on it. Yeah, I plan on it for sure.
Well, look, I'll let you head off to the next one and get on with the rest of your day, mate. But I've got to say, as you can tell me, and I mentioned a couple of times, I'm a fan, so it's a privilege for me to talk to you. I really do appreciate the music that you've made over the years, man. It's been
I appreciate it.
It's been an accompaniment to me, man, and what I do, whether I'm in the car or swimming even. I listen to Testament when I'm swimming, because I've got swimming headphones, you know. Man, congratulations on everything, and I'll definitely be in the audience when you play in Brisbane.
Sounds good. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
No worries, mate. All the best.
I'll see you in Brisbane.
For sure, mate. Catch ya. You have been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online, and my name is Andrew Mackay-Smith. That interview subject was the very legendary Alex Skolnick from Testament and a heap of other bands. Thanks for listening.